My name is Ruth, and I am absolutely thrilled to report that after just 4 years, me and my boyfriend Nick have managed to build up the majority ownership in our first ever home. This channel is all about helping individuals get the best value for money. And so in this video, I will take you through step by step of how we did it and give you some tips to help you on your home buying journey. Now, by way of context, we are in Farnborough, which is the south of England. And as you might have guessed, property around here does not come cheap. Just as with every part of the UK, property prices have skyrocketed, making it ever more difficult for young people to get on the housing ladder. It is difficult for everybody out there in this cost of living crisis. So hopefully this positive story will help and also give you some tips to take back some control. Our situation, we had graduated and we were renting for a few years after that, and then in December of 2020 we felt it was time for us to settle down and buy our first ever home. So the property that we found was a leasehold flat, which is about 800 square feet in size and affords us 2 nice big double bedrooms, one of which we use as a bedroom and the other as an office cum gym. So that feels like a big luxury to us to actually have the second bedroom. The places that we were renting beforehand did not have the second room, so we're really happy that we were able to purchase a property of this size. Now, we went for a flat because it felt as if the value for money was there, in that we really did want the additional floor space and the nicer interior that we could find compared to a property, a house of the same value. And so we spent £231,500 on this flat. As with most, you don't have that money to just buy the home outright, and so we took on a mortgage, but there are very specific ways in which we have managed to now whittle down that 231,500 to just the point where we are today, which is that we owe little over £110,000. So if you're interested in how we did this, the very first tip that I can share with you is to try and, wherever possible, put down a big deposit. In our own situation, we were very fortunate, and I cannot downplay the fact that we were given a better hand than most. We have a very good education and we were able to get good jobs, and also we did have some help from family, but we were ultimately able to put down £61,500 for a deposit. Now, this is crucial because the bigger the deposit, the less that you will then owe to the bank and the less interest you need to pay. So there's a couple of ways that you want to reduce your loan. You can do it by purchasing a lower priced property. Obviously we went for a leasehold flat as opposed to a actual house, and it is quite nice to own your own house and also the freehold, but back then we just weren't in a position financially that we felt comfortable taking on that amount of debt, so we didn't borrow the maximum. And also we were again fortunate to have saved up some money. And one thing that I would say is to take advantage of any government run schemes. If you know that you, for example, want to buy your first home and get on the property ladder, then you can use things such as the lifetime ISA, which gives you additional bonuses. And our particular example of this was that we both paid into Help to Buy ISAs from the time that we were in university, and we eventually built up £20,000 in our Help to Buy ISAs that then afforded us a 25% bonus, meaning that the total contribution from those Help to Buy ISAs was actually £25,000, and immediately that is a very healthy deposit for a lot of people. Now, of course, that is not the full story, because even with that huge deposit, we still had to take on £170,000 in debt on the mortgage to, start repaying and to eventually pay back. So if I just explain briefly how we approached our mortgage search. And essentially, we didn't go through a broker as such. I personally did the research about all of the different lenders and all of the different mortgage options out there. And I thought that from my research, First Direct was the company that I wanted to apply to. I have a very particular reason why. You are, of course, not guaranteed to get a loan with First Direct, but the reason why this particular product is so good, in my opinion, is because it enables unlimited over repayments on your loan. The beauty of this product is that you can have maximum flexibility with the amount that you are paying towards your mortgage every single month. And I might just explain this by first defining two different types of terms. So you have the mortgage term, which is the full amount of time that you will be repaying your mortgage over. And then there is the interest or fixed interest rate term, which is the amount of time during which you want to fix your interest rate. Typically, you might have heard of 25-year terms, 30-year terms. This is pretty common. But for us, we actually went and elongated the term right up to 39 years. And the reason for this is that in times of hardship, our minimum monthly repayment amount is actually lowered, because if we needed to pay off the mortgage over 39 years, that would mean smaller repayments every month to make that goal, versus a 25-year term, which of course would mean you would be paying more on a monthly basis. We did this because it gave us a sense of financial security, and we really felt like even if our income vastly dropped or something happened, we could probably scrounge together enough money to at least pay the minimum of, it was about, for us, I think at the beginning, 550, and by now, because we've paid off more, £450 a month. Now, of course, this is not at all what we did, and you can probably fathom that we were paying a lot more than this, because how else would we make such great progress on our mortgage? Well, that's where the unlimited over repayments comes in, and that is exactly why I think that this product is so good, because essentially what we did at the very early stage was that we set our monthly repayment, and over the first 3 years it was something like £1,500 a month that we personally could afford to spend. And so that is exactly how we did it. We over repaid, and we have been doing so consistently every single month. And unlimited over repayments means that you have no restriction on how much you over repay by, so long as it doesn't mean that you pay off your loan within that fixed interest rate term. Now, our fixed interest rate term, we had the option of, I think, 1, 2, 5 or 10 years, and we went with 5 years because we felt that at the time it was a very low interest rate and there wasn't very much more room for it to go down, but there was lots of room for it to go up. And as we've seen since, we've actually been very fortunate and grateful that we made that choice, because we've had now a full 4 years on 1.94% interest, and we will get to take advantage of a whole nother year at that rate. So very pleased that we were able to get on the property ladder, but I do acknowledge that it is, of course, much more difficult for people now, and I think it just seems to be getting more and more challenging as time goes on. But hopefully, even if you have a higher interest rate, I do really hope that some of these tips will help you in both understanding the mortgage and maybe thinking about how you can optimize and claw back some of that value for your money. Now, something else that I really want to get into, which I really like to talk about when I think about mortgages and repayments and how they work, is the ratio between how much of your monthly payment is interest, so paying interest to the bank, versus how much of it is a repayment and actually reducing the total debt that you owe. That's something that I would encourage anyone listening up to this point. Hopefully I've got your attention and you are engaged and you are interested, but please do try, and if you don't know already, think about actually trying to work out how much money in your monthly payment on your mortgage is interest versus repayment. And I'll give an example that for us at the start of our mortgage, we were paying £275 a month in interest, but by the time that we are at now, when we own actually 52% equity in our property, we are paying £175 a month in interest. Now, over the years, we have always had this feeling that we really want to be debt-free and we want to own our home outright. It's a real aspiration for us, but we are also battling with the idea that we could probably make more money investing in globally diversified funds. I actually have a whole nother video on the investments that I was making into my own stocks and shares ISA during this time period. But essentially, from the start of this mortgage, we were more heavily focused on paying off our home, up to the point where today, and actually for the last year, we have reduced our monthly payment amounts to £1,000 a month. But nevertheless, because the interest proportion of that is just £175, that means that £825 is going towards whittling down that loan. And that just feels really great because every single month we can see that we are making tangible progress towards becoming full home owners and having that 100% ownership. What I would say to you guys is that if you have not ever kind of looked at altering your repayment and you are on a repayment mortgage, then consider upping the payment a little bit. Most mortgages do have allowances for some over repayments, although you should really check the T's and C's to make sure that you're not going to incur any fees, but typically you can get an extra 10% on the loan amount over a year period, and that shouldn't incur fees, but definitely do check that out. But if, for example, your bank has set up your repayment or your monthly repayment and you're paying £1,500 a month, then you know that the bank is taking all of their interest already. That will have been worked into the calculation. What you can do is a positive change if you increase that by however much you have going spare, but essentially all of those additional pounds will be helping you progress towards reducing your total debt on that property. So that's really something quite cool to think about and a positive change. Hopefully you are able to at least consider that as an option. The next steps for us, I see us definitely staying in this flat for at least another year. I think that interest rate is too good to not take advantage of, and we probably will continue over repaying, despite the fact that we also like to invest. We really do feel strongly about home ownership and wanting to build up equity and continue to make good progress. Another thing that I would sort of observe is that when you are looking and seeking for a property, maybe it's your first property, and you should be aware that should be in most cases exempt of stamp duty here in the UK. But if you are looking for somewhere, try and make sure that you're going to be very comfortable living in that property for a relatively long amount of time, that you are, if you can possibly be comfortable with the location, and also that you are quite thoughtful that property suits your needs, because moving into another place, as we've been sort of exploring the options, we realise that stamp duty is a very significant amount of money, and if you're moving into your second home in the UK, you can end up being tens of thousands of pounds out of pocket because of that stamp duty charge. So certainly if you are looking to, don't just buy for the sake of living somewhere a year or two, because that can certainly backfire when you purchase your next home. But anyway, I really hope that there has been something of value that you've taken from this video. I'd really appreciate if you just comment down below on any additional words of wisdom that you could share, or any personal stories that you have about, maybe aspirations for owning a home or progress that you might have already made. And yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.